I think so. Okay, so today we are 4/17/19. So our objective is we're going to be solving rational equations. Okay, now we know rational means fraction. Okay, the term rational means fraction. So we're just basically, instead of expressions, now we got an equal sign, we need to solve for x, okay? But before we do anything, we have to talk about the excluded values. So when I solve these, the very first thing I do is I look at what x cannot be. Because if I get one of those answers, I'd have to throw it out. Does that make sense? So the first thing I do is I look at the excluded values. Then I solve. For example, in example 1, before I even start this, I'm going to say x cannot equal -8, and x cannot equal 7/2. You guys okay on the 7/2? You know, if 2x minus 7 is solve that, set it equal to 0 and solve it. It'd be 7/2 or 3.5. Okay? Are we okay on that? X cannot equal -8, divide by 0. X cannot equal 7/2 or 3.5. If I get either one of those answers, I have to throw it out. Thumbs up? Okay, so these are the easy ones. If you ever get a fraction equal to a fraction, you just cross multiply. And the reason that works is because if I multiply both sides by 2x minus 7, it just cancels out. If I multiply both sides by x plus 8, it just cancels out. So the easiest way on this is just to simply say, let's cross multiply. Okay, cross multiply. Fraction equal to a fraction, cross multiply. So I'm going to go from there. I'm going to have then 2 times my 2x minus 7 equals my 5 times my x plus 8. So when you cross multiply, you're just bringing the denominators up. Does that make sense? And the reason it works, you need to know why it works, is because I could multiply by x plus 8 over x plus 8, right? I could both sides. And then what happens is the x plus 8 cancels, right? And then you may as well just multiply. You may as well just multiply it up. Does that make sense? So cross multiplying is the way to go. Makes these. So now let's just solve. Let's just finish it up and solve. So I'll have a 4x minus 14 equals a 5x plus 40, right? Solve. Minus 4x minus 4x negative 14 equals x plus 40. Minus 40, minus 40, I've got negative 54 equals x. Okay, that's good because it's not either one of those. So let's keep our answer. Pretty easy? Yeah. Okay, example 2. Yes.
Wait. Oh, that's adding.
We're good. Okay, always question what I do, Daisy. Always. Right, Morgan? Always. Okay, example 2, same thing. But before I do, what x cannot equal what? X cannot equal 3 and x cannot equal 6. Okay? So let's cross multiply. We're going to take and multiply x minus 6 up to here. And x minus 3 will multiply up to the other side. So when we cross multiply, we'll have an x plus 1 times an x minus 6 equals an x minus 3 times an x plus 2, right? Evan, you can see okay back there? You need me to brighten it up a little bit? Maybe. So now, let's go ahead and multiply with FOIL. I'll get an x squared minus a 6x plus a 1x minus a 6. Okay. That'll be an x squared minus a 5x minus 6 equals, and we'll FOIL on the other side. I'll get an x squared plus 2x minus 3x minus 6, right? And that'll simplify into an x squared minus a 1x minus 6. Thumbs up. Am I going too fast? Am I okay? Am I okay? I'll wait for you. Okay, now, I'm just going to cancel the x squareds. Does that make cancel it? I can just subtract x squared, just cancel out the x squareds, okay? Does that make sense why I can just cancel them out? Subtract x squared, subtract x squared. So now, I'm going to solve and go plus 5x plus 5x, right? So I've got negative 6 equals a 4x minus 6 plus 6 plus 6. I've got 0 equals 4x. By the way, 0 can be an answer. 0 is a number. A lot of kids get here and go, wait a minute, no big deal, no big deal. X equals 0. 0 is a number. It's okay. It can be 0. Is it either one of these two? No. So we're okay. Let's keep our answer. It's not one of my excluded values. We're going to keep that answer. This easy? Yeah. Okay. Ready to turn the page?
Yeah.
All right. Now,
There's 3 there.
there's 3 of them, right? Okay. So what we have to do is get a common denominator. So let's get a common denominator between these two right here, okay? Let's get a common denominator. So I'm going to have to, if I want to add them, I'm going to have to multiply this first one by an x plus 2, x plus 2 over x plus 2 to get a common denominator. And I'll have to multiply this one by an x plus 1 over an x plus 1, so I have a common denominator, okay? So my common denominator is an x plus 2 times an x plus 1. That's my common denominator. Equals, okay? So that's my common denominator. Come on in, we're doing come on, we're doing fun stuff. Okay?
Fun math?
Yeah, but before we get going further, okay, Mr. Hoya, before we go any further on this question, we better be careful. Because we better make sure we talk about excluded values, right?
Oh yeah, you can't divide by 0, right?
Right? You can't, because Cookie Monster will be sad, right?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
what x cannot equal what? Let's see if he knows. Mr. Hoy, x cannot equal what?
-2.
Yeah, absolutely. What else?
-1.
He's the man. He's the man. You guys agree?
You did.
He
I
did
told you
it.
guys.
Yeah, he can do this. I know. I love it. Okay, let's
So it makes 0 on the bottom, and 0 times anything is 0.
Oh, yeah, I love it. That's
Right?
awesome. No.
Yeah.
Am I right?
You're right on that one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Am I not right on the other one?
No, you're perfect.
Oh, okay.
But what you meant to say is 0 on the bottom is bad, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because anything divided by 0 you can't do.
Yeah, you can't divide $100 by 0 people.
Exactly. You can't include yourself in that because that's still one person.
Hey, I like your shoes. Do they make those in men's sizes or no?
No, they don't actually. Only women's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Why? You
No, that's what I was
got beef with that or something?
I was wondering.
Oh, okay. That's cute that you're wearing your girlfriend's sweatshirt right there.
Thanks,
Are you guys
Rudy.
still cold?
Yeah, go ahead and steal coal, please. Okay, so let's go ahead and
Oh, shoot.
3x plus 6. You guys got 3x plus 6 here. And then we're also going to have a plus a 4x plus 4, right? So I went and did a 3x plus 6 and a 4x plus 4, right? You okay with that? So we're going to have a 7x plus 10 over an x plus 2 times an x plus 1, right? Equals 15 over an x plus 2. Now, here's the trick. Here's the trick I want to show you, okay? I want you to listen carefully to how I'm going to do this. Now, I could cross multiply, but I'm going to have to cross multiply this here. I have a trick. I want you to see this trick. I'm going to get a common denominator over here also. You wouldn't think you'd need to, but if I get a common denominator on both sides, then the denominators will disappear. I'm going to show you how, okay? So let's get a common denominator all the way through, and I'll show you why the denominators will disappear, okay?
Because they're equal to each other.
Smart girl. So you totally get it. So let's multiply this one by also an x plus 1 over an x plus 1, right? I'm going to do that over on the second fraction. I'll have a 15x plus 15 over my x plus 2 times my x plus 1. Now, here's the deal. I'm going to put it up on the whiteboard. Instead of cross multiplying, if I multiply both sides of the equation, right? Equals, right? It's equal. When I do to one side, I do the exact same thing to the other side. What if I multiply both sides by x plus 2 times x plus 1? Okay, do it on the other side. Same thing, right?
People have a number.
Okay, so if I do that to both sides, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? my denominators are going to cancel out, aren't they? And then your fraction's gone. So the trick is to get yourself to the point where you have a common denominator all the way through. And once you have a common denominator all the way through, you can just get rid of your denominators. And then it becomes a pretty easy problem to solve, doesn't it? Yeah, Daisy.
So what you just be multiplying it by the other side by x plus 2 and
Both sides, yep. Multiply both sides by an x plus 2 times an x plus 1 on both sides. Because I'm just keeping it balanced, right? Multiply by both sides, the exact same thing, right? So if I do this, oh, sorry, sloppy. Then it's balanced. I multiply the same thing on both sides. Does that make sense? So it's a cool little trick because right now, watch this. This cancels that, and this side cancels this, and your fraction's gone. Isn't that cool? And then the fraction's not there anymore. It becomes a pretty easy problem to do. So what are we left with? Well, an easy problem. We're left with, I'll have to squeeze it over here. This 7x plus 10 equals a 15x plus 15. And now it's pretty easy, right? The fraction is gone. We're just going to solve for x. I don't need to cross multiply. Minus 7x minus 7x. 10 is equal to 8x plus 15, right? Minus 15 minus 15. Negative 5 equals 8x, right? Divide. X is equal to negative 5/8. Is that one of my problems? No. So these work. This answer works. It's not an excluded value, so we're good. Isn't that a cool little trick? It only works if you have an equal sign. Because if you have an equal sign, you can multiply both sides by the same thing, right? So once you get your common denominator, you can just get rid of it, okay? So let's look at example 4. Almost done. Okay, even with that little interruption from Mr. Hoya, we're good. Okay, so before I do anything, what I recognize about this second fraction is that if I factor this, I can factor this into x times x plus 4, okay? And then looking at it, the common denominator I probably want to find is my x times my x plus 4, right? So on my first fraction, I'll multiply that by an x over an x. So I'll have a 12x over my x times x plus 4. My second fraction, I want to multiply by an x plus 4 over an x plus 4. So I'll have a negative 7x minus 28. And that equals 22 over my x times x plus 4. Okay, so what I did is I multiplied the first fraction by x over x to get my common denominator of x times x plus 4. My second fraction I multiplied by x plus 4, so I get a negative 7x minus 28 over my common denominator. Now at this point, let's apply our trick. I have a common denominator. I can multiply both sides by my x times my x plus 4, I could, but it cancel, right? X times x plus 4, both sides cancel. So what am I left with? A pretty easy problem. I'm left with a, well, let's see, that must be a 5x minus 28 equals 22, right? Add 28 to both sides. Add 28. 5x is equal to, what's that, 40, 50, right? X equals 10. There you go. X cannot equal 0, we're okay, and x cannot equal negative 4, we're okay. X equals 10. We don't have time to do the journal, but that's what I have, okay? So, I know it's